It's embarrassing.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
just
it's
trying
all right.
to
It's
be
not your fault.
responsive.
Heckling the attorney 4 meetings in a row is not a good idea. That's for the closed session, though. He knows it.
All right, it is 7 PM, so I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville on Tuesday, April 8th, 2014, and we will start with roll call.
Dick Bonin,
Here.
Ken Killian,
Here.
Eileen Nichols,
Here.
Patrice Steiner,
Here.
Mike Den,
Here.
Barbara Doss. Here. And Barbara Stockhausen.
Here. First item is consideration of the consent calendar. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote due to their routine nature or previous discussion. Please indicate to the council president if you would prefer separate discussion and action. A, minutes of the March 25th regular council meeting. B is payment of bills. C is financial report for March. D, appointments to boards and commissions. And this evening, I have the following appointments. To the Board of Appeals, the ET Zoning Board of Appeals, Tom Tabor. Housing Authority, to fill a position opened by a resignation of a member, Crystal Kleinfelder. Library Board, 3-year term, Rosemary Anderson. Plan Commission, Wendy Brook. Police and Fire Commission, a reappointment of Tim Bolt. And our Pecan representative, Jamie McPeak. E is licenses, 1 and/or 2-year operators licenses, which are in the packet. And F is permits, a walk-run permit for Southwest Health Center Nightingale's fundraiser event on May 10th of 2014. Second one is a walk-run permit for the Health and Human Performance Department of UWP on May 3rd, 2014. And the third is a request for a street closure by the Chamber of Commerce for the Discover Wisconsin Premier and Kickstart Tourism Festival on May 3rd, 2014. Is there a motion?
I move that all things as read be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll vote.
Bonin,
Yep.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Steiner,
Yes.
Den,
Yes.
Doss. Yes. Stockhausen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under citizens' comments, observations, and petitions, we have some city recognitions or announcements to be made this evening, and I'll start with the city manager, Larry Berkey, to introduce a new employee.
This evening, I'd like to introduce the city council to Jennifer Fuschino. Jennifer, could you come up? We've hired Jennifer recently to take over the responsibilities of the Roundtree Gallery Director, and I'd like to ask her to say a little bit about her background and maybe ask you for some questions.
Good evening. I am an art teacher in Dubuque currently, just part-time, and I have another 12 years of art teaching experience. I have a few years experience on campus in the tutoring center with 30 employees, and just ready to go, ready to get raring to go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jennifer, do you have a favorite kind of art?
My favorite, my favorite kind of art is clay, working with clay, pottery.
Right. And the season for Roundtree Gallery starts pretty soon, I think.
It does, it does. We opened on the 5th. We have a new exhibit up that you're all invited to come see. It is, it was an open exhibit for adults and teens and youth. We have about 35 artists, about 65 artworks. It's a really nice show. So if you'd like to stop down, we're open on, currently we're open only on Saturdays from 10 to 4:30 and Sundays from 12 to 4:30 until the summer hours start.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We also have a report from Luke Peters, Recreation Coordinator.
I'm here to announce that the city has received a $20,000 grant from the State Energy Office. This grant will be used at the pool to purchase a VFD, which is a variable frequency drive. This drive, I consider it the pool going green, but going green in a good way, not the way, the yucky water way. So it's going to save us a lot of energy. Currently, the pool circulation pumps run 24/7 at 100% max capacity, and that's simply not needed. So what this drive will do is it'll actually monitor our flow rate and adjust our flow down when that extra energy is not needed. We anticipate that this will save us about 20 to 25% in our energy usage and also our energy costs for that pump. We were able to also leverage our project for updating our boiler to receive this grant. So with that boiler as well, we'll receive an additional 20% savings from our existing boiler. Doing some calculations, we kind of estimated that our existing boiler was operating very, very poorly at about 70%, and this new boiler operated about 85% efficiency. So this is great news. It'll save us energy, save us money in the long run. So we think it's a very good project. So.
Great, and I understand you're also going to be talking about boots versus badges challenge.
I am.
You'll
I'll
have
wait
some-
till the rest of my boots versus badges crew gets up here.
Like any good cop. I brought donuts.
So, Boots versus Badges Dunkin' Donuts Delivery Challenge is brought to you by Project Pulse, the group that brought you Choose a Scrooge this past winter. So we're into the creative fundraising. So Dunkin' Donuts agreed to partner with us to do donut deliveries. So businesses, individuals that are residing in Platteville or within 5 miles of Platteville can have their donuts delivered by an off-duty police officer or firefighter. And it's $10 per dozen. All donuts or all orders are due by April 21st, and those donuts will be delivered out on April 25th between the hours of 7 and 11. So we hope that all businesses out there, anyone listening on the TV, definitely get your orders in because it'll go for a good cause. Project Pulse, of course, we're buying AEDs for the city facilities, and the AEDs in particular that we're buying with these funds would be for the squad cars or for the fire station. So it's a challenge between the firefighters and the police to see who can sell the most. So we're definitely relying on them to be a little competitive like they always are, and hope to raise lots of funds.
Would you like to introduce the rest
Where
of
do we
your-
get an order form? Good question from behind in our gallery. You can pick up an order form from either the police or the fire. They're also at City Hall as well, and they are on our website at platteville.org. You can download one right there, or you can stop and see Dick. He's got one. So,
Okay, what do
You
you
give
think?
us some.
what
One
I did.
example of the kind of donut you could have.
So
Would you like to introduce the rest of your committee?
Only one.
I'll let them introduce themselves.
McKinley, and remember where you got the donuts? Because you definitely want to get those from the cops. I'm not saying anything against the clerk,
Yeah.
but just think about it.
Carolyn Schuler, the library, and I wore red, but it's not indicative of either side. I just happen to be wearing red today.
Sides, color red.
Connie Steinhoff, and I'd like to acknowledge Larry Berkey is on our group too. So is Jody Richards, and so is Brian Allen.
Which group's that? Firemen or police?
We're neutral.
The Project Pulse Committee is neutral on this.
Yes.
Brian Simmons, Fire Department, so looking forward to a good challenge, so.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I wore blue. Got them late Saturday.
All right, we have no other citizens' comments, observations, or petitions, so we'll get on to the next item, which is reports. In your packet, you have committee reports. Commission on Aging, Bonin.
I had nothing to add other than what's in your packet.
Historic Preservation Commission, Killian.
No addition.
Museum Board, Stockhausen.
Not at this time.
Redevelopment Authority, Dawes.
Nothing to add.
And Tourism Committee, Steiner.
Yeah, there is a new issue. It's under information discussion, the proposal to raise the room tax from 4 to 5%.
Other reports in the packet: airport financial report, city attorney itemized statement, water sewer revenue and expenditures for March of 2014, and department progress reports. Any questions or comments on any of those? All right, seeing none, we're going on to the action items. The first item is Resolution 1412, amending the Addendum C of the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Agreement to include fire protection.
I'd like to refer to Ryan to answer any questions you may have. I know the city council has heard about this at our last meeting, but maybe Ryan could give us a brief summary.
Okay. Pretty much it's just been updated again to include the addition of the fire services in the current agreement that's there. The resolution now is just for emergency medical services. So the actual agreement that is already accepted to by the city already has the fire part in it. It's just a resolution to add us to it. And then once that's completed, we'll be able to join the Mavis division of Grant County. So be a good benefit for the city to provide extra services and get extra resources in at basically no cost to the city. So.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1412, and we'll vote.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Steiner,
Yes.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Stockhausen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is extend the term of the Housing Authority Board member. Again, there's information in the packet. Larry?
At your last meeting on March 25th, Marilyn Gottschalk, on behalf of the Housing Authority, came to the city council and requested the extension of the term of a housing board member named Deb Faraday for another 5-year term. At that time, the city council was interested in considering this, and it's tonight, before you tonight for approval.
I would make a motion to approve, to extend board member Deb Faherty's term for another 5 years.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? We'll vote.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols, Steiner,
Yes.
Den,
Yes.
Doss. Yes. Stockhausen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 1413, authorizing the salaries of full-time personnel excluding the library personnel, city clerk, and city manager for 2014. Larry?
Before you is a staff note and resolutions regarding salary increases. These were considered at the city council's closed session meetings at the last 2 meetings. In the closed session, the city council reviewed the recommendations made by the city manager for merit pay increases. Attached to your packet are 2 resolutions. Resolution A is the version of this that the city council approved or discussed in work session. Discussed in closed session. To pursue what we discussed, we would have to do an additional $3,279 because the estimates initially did not include enough funding to cover the fringe benefits for some of the positions. So, knowing this, the city also proposed version B, which is a second resolution that you can consider where we backed off on some of the increases to accommodate what was in the budget. So item B does not need a budget transfer. Version A does.
Questions?
These fringes are different fringes than the fringes I'm having trouble understanding why there are 2 again.
Okay.
I thought our discussions had included fringes.
Well, if you recall, there was one position where we had previously approved a salary increase at a previous meeting, and when that position increase occurred, there was not fringe benefits included in the analysis for that position, given the increase of the compensation. Speaking in code, so we don't talk about individuals specifically at a council meeting. If you'd like to go into closed session, we can schedule another meeting to talk about specific individuals.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 14-13 version A and to authorize $3,279.83 to be moved from the communication budget into the salary budget to make this possible.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would move to table the merit pay increases as the distribution further enhances discrimination against hourly employees.
So is that an
Second that.
amendment to the motion? Because we have a motion, Ken.
I know, but I'm tabling it.
I'm not sure how we
You can table.
I think you can move to
could table even after a motion has been made.
After a motion is made? Aye.
The best that I can dredge up from my parliamentary recollection is that a motion to table, even after there's been a motion on the floor, it takes precedence, and that you vote on that motion to table. Am I 100% certain in that answer? No, I'm not.
Even if there was a second on the first motion?
I believe that's the case. If you want me to go, find a book and look it up, I will. But that's the best I can come up with sitting right here.
So my understanding then it was we would vote on the motion to table, and if that fails, then we can address the motion.
You would vote on that, and the city manager reminds me that the council president is in charge of the meeting in terms of conducting it, so.
I understand that, but I appreciate your knowledge also, Brian. So knowing that, we will vote first on the motion to table.
Bonin,
No.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
No.
Steiner,
No.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
No.
Stockhausen.
No.
Motion fails.
We will now vote on the other motion, which is to approve A of the resolution, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the motion I made.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
No.
Nichols,
Yes.
Steiner,
Yes.
Den,
No.
Doss,
Yes.
Stockhausen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, that's it for action items. We'll go on to information and discussion, and the first item is a conditional use permit for asphalt plant at 110 East Mineral. Joe?
Okay, this is the annual request submitted for the asphalt plant, which is in the rock quarry on Mineral Street. There have been no changes to the proposal from previous years. The only issue that's come up in past has been a complaint about dust coming from the entrance driveway to the rock quarry, and that, for the most part, was solved a few years ago when they paved that. They've done some additional spraying on occasion to control dust since that time, and that seems to have taken care of any issues with that regard. So staff does recommend approval, and Plan Commission did also recommend approval last night. Questions?
Any questions? All right, that'll be on for action next time. Next is ordinance amending the official traffic map, senior center restricted parking.
Okay. I'll start off. Senior Center has requested the following change to the official traffic map, designating both spaces on Court Street in front of the Senior Center at 55 South Court as restricted parking only, 9:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. In 2010, the council approved ordinance 10-17 restricting parking for just one of those two spaces. Since then, the large senior center bus and the large ADRC bus seems to require both stalls. If you have specific questions, Connie is here to answer any of those.
Question?
Well, what time do the buses arrive? I've been there at 9:30. There's nobody parking in those spaces. I've been there at 10:30. There's nobody parking in those spaces.
At between approximately 9:30 on Wednesdays, that's when the ADRC bus arrives to get their pickup information for people they want to pick up. So that's the earliest time that it is used.
One
and
day
it's
a week.
reserved. That's the one day that it arrives early. The rest of the time, the earliest it will get there is probably 10:45. That's when they're returning. Our city bus is returning after picking up people in their homes and dropping them off.
And what time does the ADRC bus return?
On that Wednesday, they pick up their list at 9:30. They go out and do their pickups. They come back between 10:30 and 11, drop off their people. They leave again because they have a whole series of pickups and everything that they're doing during the day. They come back again at approximately 11:45, pick up people to take them home, and then on Wednesdays and Thursdays also, because Thursdays we have our bus out there in the afternoon. We take people home about 3 o'clock.
Sounds like this is basically a one-day-a-week issue.
No, on Tuesdays we have two buses there. We have our bus and we have the ADRC bus that need all that space. On Wednesdays, we have just the ADRC bus because our bus doesn't run. It's kind of a complicated schedule here. And then, but the ADRC bus comes and goes all day on Wednesday between the hours of 9:30 and 3. On Thursdays, our bus comes between the hours of 10:30 and 3, coming back and forth. Tuesdays, like I said, both buses are there. That's why we require that extra space. Plus, our bus is actually 6 feet longer than the parking space itself. The parking space is a regular car space, and our bus is about 6 feet longer, so it does hang out to the edge of the alley, which sometimes presents a hazard for people who are trying to get in and out of the alley. So, so that's another concern there with that. So it's a safety concern in that regard.
Other questions?
Nope.
Do you have a parking lot north of the building?
We have a 4-stall parking lot. That's where we store the bus. The bus actually takes up about 2 stalls because we need all that space to maneuver the bus. We have the van also that's parked over there, and then the meal site manager parks over there. So those spots are taken up during the day. And we need to drop people off at the front door on Court Street because that is the handicapped accessible entrance. And we have more and more people using walkers, canes, wheelchairs. They need that entrance. They need to be dropped off right there.
Any other questions? All right, that will be on for action next time as well. Next item is ordinance amending the city room tax.
The city of Platteville has asked the tourism committee to consider increasing the room tax by 1%. We did this late last summer. The city's the city's tourism committee has met with various lodging franchises, and together there is a letter in your packet from the lodging industry endorsing a 1% increase. And you can read the letter, it's in your packet. And at this time, the Tourism Committee has motioned to adopt their recommendation and refer it to the City Council. So the Tourism Committee is endorsing a 1% increase in the tourism room tax.
And that would take effect, I think, in January 1 of
Yes.
2015.
They've asked that it occur January 1 of 2015 because some of the lodging industry has contracts with businesses for room stays. And if it makes the transition prior to that, they will lose that additional revenue under the contracts.
Questions? All right. And that'll be on for action next time as well.
Yes.
Just the question I have is, and I brought it up before, is that the 28% goes into the city's general fund. And is that correct according to state statute?
Yes.
Yes.
Could the attorney give me the number of the state statute so I can read it?
Sure.
Okay, I read it a number of years ago, but I'd like to read it again. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. The next item is the zoning code amendment for the limited occupancy overlay district. Joe?
Okay, I believe the council talked about this a little bit this past winter, but the idea is that we currently have a limited occupancy overlay district in our ordinance that is able to be put into effect in R1 and R2 zoned properties. Ken had started the process with the idea that maybe to expand that ability to properties that are also in our residential historic districts. And we have two of those that are primarily zoned R3 multifamily residential. So under the current zoning, they would not be eligible to start that process of a overlay district. So this proposal would amend the ordinance to allow the overlay district to be created in those historic districts regardless of what the underlying zoning is. Staff has recommended approval of this change. The Plan Commission discussed it at length last night and actually recommended denial of the proposed change. I think it was a 5-3 vote. So at this point, it's still proceeding. It's up to the council, I guess, to decide what you'd like to do with it. It is scheduled for a public hearing at the next meeting, so you'll have to make a decision at that point. But I think the main issues that were brought up, at least from my notes, we've got other people here that were there last night. There was some concern about limiting rentals in an area that is that close to the university, because that's kind of an area that student rentals, we would like to see where that should be located instead of spreading around the community. There was a large concern, I think, regarding the language that's in there now about the 75% rule. You can basically theoretically bring in somebody into that overlay district that is not in agreement with having their property within that district. And there was also a mention about the fact that those historic districts currently have a large amount of rental property already, whether that makes sense to include them or not. Most of those issues really are not directly related to the proposed change, but the discussion kind of went into a lot of areas that were relevant to the overlay district itself, but not necessarily this change. So I think those were the main issues that were brought up. The one other item that the Plan Commission will be looking at, there was a question about the definition that's in there now as far as a family, whether that is in compliance with the domestic partnership statute. So we'll be looking at that and probably bringing a change back to the Plan Commission at their next meeting. So this item will be discussed again. So does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I wasn't at the Plan Commission meeting last night. I live in a residential overlay district on West Main. And when that residential overlay district was formed, there was a petition, and people were able to sign on and want to be in or not. So it's my understanding then that if I did not sign the petition, that I am then not restricted as to the number of people I might rent my house to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not included in the district, then it doesn't exist
Well,
for
I
your
don't, I
property.
mean, the neighbors on both sides of me may be included in the district. Across the street, on both sides, I may be the only house within my cul-de-sac that decided not to sign the petition to be in the residential overlay district. I didn't sign. So that means I can rent my house, if I want, to 4 people, not 2.
Correct.
And if I sell my house, the people who buy my house could also make it a rental and rent to 4 people, not 2.
Correct.
So it really doesn't, the real question is, if I didn't sign the petition, even though everybody around me is in the residential overlay and may have signed the petition, I still have control over my property.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. But
I have control over it, and it's not non-conforming, is that correct? It's
Correct. I think the issue that was brought up was that was the process that the people that organized that effort, they made a conscious decision. They were not going to bring anybody into the process that was not in agreement with that.
Okay.
So if you didn't sign the petition, you were not included in the proposed district. The way the ordinance is written, it is possible to bring somebody in that is not agreeable to that. You just need to have 75% of the property owners in that proposed district sign the petition. If you don't have 100% signatures though, then it requires a 3/4 vote of the council. But theoretically, you could bring in your property even though you didn't sign it, as long as you had a high enough percentage. And I think that was part of the concern that the Plan Commission talked about last night, that some of them had a concern about that.
I would also have a concern about that. Because I thought that when we wrote this ordinance, it was written so that if you didn't want your house in the residential overlay district, it wasn't going to be in the residential overlay district.
And I think that at the time the council approved the ordinance, it was very clear that those members at that time would not vote to bring anybody's property in that was not agreeable to it, but the ordinance does allow for that as it's currently written. So I suspect the Plan Commission is gonna discuss that matter again in the future as well.
It would be my opinion that I, as a council member, would not want to see this back on a council agenda until that issue has been resolved in the ordinance. Because I really don't think if you have a property and don't want it to be part of the residential overlay district, that there should be a way that you are forced to be part of that district. So I personally couldn't support any additional districts for R3 or anything until that part of the original ordinance is cleared up, in my opinion.
Joe, if we went to, from 75, if we went to the 100%, that would eliminate anybody being brought in that didn't want to be, wouldn't it?
Correct.
That takes an ordinance change.
Correct.
True. It can't just be an amendment.
Right.
But that would eliminate the whole problem.
That's why I said I'd like to see somebody address that before you bring it back to talk about historic districts and whether R3 should be included or not, or whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but at this point, the publication has already been submitted for the public hearing at your next meeting, so I guess my suggestion would be to go forward with the public hearing, see what other people might think about this proposal, and then you could table action, send it back to the Plan Commission, and they could work on it further.
Other questions?
We couldn't, at the time of the public hearing and action, amend the ordinance. It would have to be a published amendment. That's correct?
There's a process to go to the Plan Commission, then public hearing, so.
Right, and I don't remember exactly the wording I had in the publication, whether it really gave adequate notice to people that we're gonna be changing more than just the historic district change. So I would feel more comfortable tabling it and going back and kind of starting at the beginning.
Other questions? All right, well, as Joe noted there, this will be on because it has been published as a public hearing next time, but we have options then, I think, as to how to go forward. Contract 314 sidewalk repair. Howard?
Yes. Annually, we do a sidewalk repair contract. The council approved a budget for $40,000 for that. We opened 4 bids with the enclosed bid tabulation. We have 2 parts to this. One is the actual replacement of sidewalks, physical removal and replacement. We're recommending that that be awarded to J&T Concrete Construction with a bid of $27,956.50. And we've also done what we call grinding. If you have sidewalks that have moved, but they're good quality concrete slabs, what we do is we grind it off so that there isn't a trip hazard. And the low bidder for grinding is Sidewalk Savers LLC in the amount of $6,683. We have used both contractors in the past.
Questions? Next item is the fiscal software package.
I've asked Valerie to speak on this one.
The city and the water and sewer offices are currently in need of a new financial software. The one we have was installed in 2003 and is becoming obsolete. Every time we call for support, they make sure they let us know that you really need to get a new software. So we got quotes from 3 different vendors, including our current software, which is Civic. They have an upgrade. And then we also received quotes from Springbrook software, which the Grant County uses, as well as BSNA, which I believe Jan, when she was at a clerk's conference, they spoke there. And after receiving the quotes, we narrowed it down to BSNA and then Civic, which we currently have, and viewed demos. We've actually viewed 2 different demos from both companies. The last time we viewed the demos, we had Amber and TJ from CompuNet sit in as well, just to kind of get their perspective on the 2. And Larry was involved with Dwayne and myself. And we kind of had an overall consensus that BSNA was really the software that we liked. It's definitely more intuitive. It's has a lot of functionalities that Civic doesn't have, and it's all in one software package. Everything is scanned in. I actually they gave us references. They're from Michigan. They're a company from Michigan. However, they're trying to get in the Wisconsin market, and they have about 8 municipalities in the Milwaukee area, which they've signed. And they gave me references, and I called the finance directors and people from those municipalities and talked about what they liked about it, and none of them really had anything bad to say about it at all. Actually, one gentleman said they've reduced all of their paper down to 2 drawers, and we have a whole vault full. So that would be nice. Everything is scanned in, so if I was in General Ledger and I clicked on, it would take me to it would take me to accounts payable, and if I clicked on the amount from there, it would take me to the scanned image of the invoice. So everything is just readily available. And the references also noted how they had a lot of people. One of them noted that they had a lot of employees who had been with the municipality for a long time, and they were worried about the transition and said it was very fluid. They did both utility billing and the finance packages at the same time, and there was no issues. So that was one thing that worried me. But so anyways, staff recommends that we go with BSNA. We have in the budget currently for this year $51,800, which was the quote for Civic to be upgraded. So BSNA has offered to give us a 2-year contract and no interest. I also spoke with CompuNet about their costs that would be associated. There's hardware costs, which would be a new server. We would eventually need this cost anyway, so I kind of hesitated to put it in here because we're going to need that down the line anyway, so it's not a direct result of this software, but we are going to need it before we get the software. And then also their costs just for the implementation of it. So those are included in this staff note. So the total for BSNA was $95,873, and with the CompuNet and the hardware, the total was $109,636.89. So we would need to additional $57,836.89 in next year's budget to be able to make this work. Do you have any questions for me?
My first question is, Did you intend initially that the 51,800 would cover everything?
Yes, if we, that quote,
That's something which is double.
well, that quote was for an upgrade of our current system for Civic. And I did a 10-year analysis, but it doesn't, our current software Civic, if we were to upgrade to their Clarity, which is their upgrade, what's what it's called, it wouldn't include a lot of the features like to scan the images, to have AP workflow, to have where you can import and export Excel documents. Like one feature of BSNA is I can give department heads for budgets spreadsheets. They can fill in their numbers and I can upload them into the system, which would make things much more efficient. You know, you eliminate manual entry errors. You eliminate time spent on things. I mean, Dwayne and I have to manually put all the numbers in. So BSNA has a lot more functionalities. I did a 10-year analysis of BSNA also would not charge us for the first year of maintenance, which Clarity would. And their maintenance is about $1,800 more a year, Clarity. So I did a 10-year analysis, and the totals, if I were to include, to try to match our current software, all the functionalities, over 10 years, it would be actually more. Only about $2,000. They come really close. But it would be like $2,000 more for our current software if I were to add all the add-ons to make it match what BSNA will offer in one package. So yes, the $51,800 was just to upgrade. However, we looked at new softwares too, just to kind of compare, to get different quotes. And once we did that, we realized that there was a better product that we liked.
Did you check
Thank you.
wages? Did you check the wages? How much you would save? Time?
No, that's not even included in this.
With the 2-year contract, is that they're gonna maintain the systems for us?
When
and
I mean
everything?
2-year contract, that means that we're paying it over the 2 years.
Okay,
They would implement it along with CompuNet. They would be involved with that process, and CompuNet would really be the ones that would be taking care of, you know, all the
Maintain the network
right,
then
maintaining
for
it
us.
on our on the
now,
server.
is that cost included also, did you say, CompuNet's?
Yes, yep, that was they said the implementation was the 5,500.
Okay, so the whole package for 2 years, correct? And the updates on the equipment would be a total of 109,636?
For everything, yes.
For everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe, Larry, you may remember some of this. We're able to, with the new GIS system, the BSNA has this capability of connecting with our GIS software we're supposed to be getting. So that would be something down the road that could be added to, which is a nice functionality to have. And BSNA also has unlimited users, so we can put the software on anybody's computer. With Clarity currently, you only have so many licenses, so you have to pay if you want an additional user.
Is this new system a web-based system?
Yeah, SQL, web-based.
And I remember when TJ was here before, and he said that we needed to look more at going to cloud-based solutions. This obviously isn't if we're buying a server.
This is not cloud-based. No, they have what's called a My Viewpoint, which is people can log in from different areas. That's not on the server. That's more of a cloud-based on their end. But the software itself is not cloud-based. Actually, Springbrook software, which was one of the other quotes I got, they were all cloud-based, and we were looking at, for maintenance every year, like $40,000 every year. So we were like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. So yeah, that would be nice to go through it. I think right now just the having everything imaged is a huge step in really making things more efficient. Any other questions?
Did you mention other cities that are using BSNA and?
Yes, I actually, I'm going actually next Wednesday, the 15th, I think, to Whitefish Bay up by Milwaukee. They have the software already implemented, and their finance director said you're more than welcome to come. She did the same thing with another municipality before they signed. And so she said it's a great thing to come up and actually see it live and to ask her questions and kind of get more insight on the software there. So yes, I called 4 different municipalities in which BSNA told me one of the ladies, she installed it at one of the municipalities, then she went to a different one, and now she's signing and getting it there too. She likes it that much. So I didn't hear anything bad about it.
With this company that you're talking about and the type of equipment we're talking about, is there any numbers as to how long this is functional before we go and update, since you're not going to be using cloud-based?
You know, I really don't have an answer to that.
We wouldn't know how long this will serve us before we have to change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Perhaps, Valerie, you could get a history of the versions that they've implemented.
Okay.
And how often they've done upgrades that require additional expenditures.
I know as far as upgrades, and this may be something then different than you're talking about, Barb, but BSNA they do weekly updates to their software rather than some software companies will do like an annual update. So it's nice that they are continually updating it if they find something wrong, or if they find another customer that finds something more convenient, they will share it with everybody. But I will get
Is that a shared cost then?
that's included in the maintenance. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, we'll be on for action next time as well. Before we go into closed session, I would like to note again for the council members, I know that an email was sent out that on April 15th, we will have our reorganization meeting, it's called. So plan to be here. It will be at 7 p.m. and at that time, I will take the oath of office, and Amy Seaboth, who was elected, will also take the oath of office. And we also have a couple of other things like electing the council president and also the depository and also the newspaper. So 7 p.m., April 15th, here, please. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone in District 2 who voted for me. I really appreciate that. Want to let you know that. And we do have one other thing that we need to do this evening before we go into closed session, and that's to recognize Patrice Steiner, who's leaving us. She is not going to be on the council after this evening, and we have for her a plaque
Very nice.
in recognition of your service. I'm going to read it. Okay. It says,
I might cry.
Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Patrice Steiner. Thank you for being a community leader and serving on the Platteville Common Council from 2007 to 2010 and 2011 to 2014. Your commitment to public service, your donation of many volunteer hours, and your vision for our fine community is and will always be appreciated.
Thank you so much. And I want to say how much I have appreciated representing the citizens of Platteville during my 2 terms, and I've learned a lot about municipal government. I've certainly enjoyed working with my fellow council members and former fellow council members, and I've enjoyed getting to know the department heads, the city managers, both Larry and Dave Berner. I just think it was a wonderful experience, it really was. And thank you so much.
And just so she doesn't forget us, we're giving her a nameplate. So.
Here's your nameplate, too.
Oh, boy. All right. So the next, yes?
Yes, go ahead.
You need a motion to close?
Yes, we need a motion to go into closed session.
Do we want Amy to sit in?
Go ahead,
on the
Mike.
closed
No,
session?
she can't, she's not sworn in yet.
I did.
Oh, really? Okay, well, let's get a motion to go into closed
I
session.
move that we go into closed session
Could you read it, please?
Yes.
Statute
per
19.58.
Wisconsin statute 19.85, paren 1, paren E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Kellenbach Properties.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, we'll vote.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Steiner,
Yes.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Stackhausen,
Yes.
motion carries.
We'll take 5 minutes, folks.
I didn't get involved.